while being modified or made slightly different in size or intellect, like they did with the mako sharks in Deep Blue Sea. Johannes Roberts Primate takes a simple parable decisions, and then fully commit to the glorious chaos when heads start to get ripped off and blood simply splashes everywhere. Well, that's exactly what delivers as you revel in a pure, unfiltered delight as the monkey goes on another killing spree. This is not an elevated horror, rather a blood-soaked spectacle, and a cinematic coliseum where the only goal is to cheer, wince, and enjoy the carnage. So without wasting another minute, let's discuss what happens in Primate.
Ben?
The film opens with a very cold scene of a doctor opening a cage and calling for Benji, who appears to be sick and erratic. As he prepares the syringe, the doctor fondly asks the chimpanzee to clutch a teddy bear, as it always does, but instead of listening to him, Ben sneaks further into the darkness of the cage. When the doc goes to pull him out, the horror begins as we see the primate's wildly violent death scene unfold, with Ben grabbing the doctor's hand, dragging him in, and then pretty much ripping the skin off his face. We then flash back 36 hours from this bloody moment as we follow Lucy, who appears to be a college kid returning back to her secluded home amidst the jungles of Hawaii after a very long time. As it turns out, her mom passed away last year, leaving her younger sister Erin with their workaholic father Adam, who's also an author. After spending a long time detaching herself from her family and grieving in isolation, Lucy has now decided to see friend Hannah. Now, Lucy quietly hates Hannah, but we never really know why. Maybe it's because she always demands to be the center of attention. Anyway, after they reach Hawaii, the trio is greeted by Katie's hot brother Nick, who has always been Lucy's crush. But fawning over Nick is the least of Lucy's priorities now, because her little sister Erin has been icing her out. As it turns out, Erin and Lucy have also grown distant, and Erin feels abandoned and lonely after Lucy just left her following their mother's passing. When Lucy finally messages to quell her sister's anger, we meet their exceptionally advanced primate pet, Ben. As the opening credits of the film tells us, Lucy's late Jane Goodall-esque mother was a linguistic specialist who had adopted an oddly smart Ben and then trained him to communicate at a level previously unheard of, even for chimpanzees. And because Adam is deaf, the family mostly speaks in sign, which Ben seems to understand very well. Moreover, on the edge of a cliff. Meanwhile, Adam goes away for an important book signing event, but something important happens before that, which he chooses to ignore. So as a safety measure, Adam sends the mongoose carcass in for testing in order to see if something was wrong with it, and then locks Ben in a cage until his vet comes to check in on him. Oh well, we all know from the movie's opening scene how that ends, which ultimately brings us to the current point of the events. Now, as I previously mentioned, Adam had to leave after he got a call from a film studio wanting to buy rights to his book from a book signing he had in town. And he does leave, even though his daughter has just come home, and even though his chimp may have something deadly. This is the first of many moments that defy rational thinking, and if there's one thing that they push their luck on, because from here it really turns into an incessant stream of absurd choices these characters make, well, from here it turns into a bloodbath, as Ben's killing spree begins with the rabies completely taking over his head, thus preventing him from discerning right from wrong, and just giving into his wild animalistic instincts to eliminate everything in his path. After Ben escapes his confined space, he starts by chomping down on Erin's leg. Well, moments before that, Hannah did suggest Lucy shoot Ben with a gun after seeing the chimp act erratic, but who in their right mind would do that to the beloved pet they grew up with? Instead, Nick and Lucy try to put a leash on Ben, only to agitate him even more. With everyone at risk, the only out these kids have is to barricade themselves inside the pool, because Ben can't swim. From there on out, Primate turns into a game of chicken, where each character tries their hand at getting to a cell phone to call 911, most of whom fail marvelously. Not that you need to read this to know it to be true, but the filmmakers really stretch the limits of the possibility of an infectious disease on a primate. Ben's wild aggression is one thing, but it's a bit bizarre the way he also seemingly gets smarter by stalking the grounds of this mansion like Michael Myers. Now the first to die is Nick, which to me was really shocking because my money was on Hannah. But of course that doesn't go well, as Nick does push the chimp, but the chimp climbs back up and instead pushes Nick off, and we see him fall to his death head first into a giant rock. That's when the true horror of the situation really starts to dawn on the surviving characters. Hours pass by, and we see Ben just quietly sitting at the edge of the pool, gawking at Lucy, Erin, Katie, and Hannah. After realizing that Erin desperately needed help, Lucy decided to take matters into her own hands by getting a pool float to support them inside the pool. As she steadily walks toward the float, Ben just observes from afar. While she does successfully push the float into the pool, Lucy notices a cell phone lying on the floor, and just as she's about to grab it, the phone starts ringing, which of course sends the chimp into a frenzy again. As Ben attacks Lucy, Katie comes to her rescue, and together they jump back into the pool. Although Ben seems to grow more aggressive and intelligent with time, as he uses the string of lights hanging above the pool to try to get to the group. In fact, he even grabs Hannah by her hair and takes a chunk out of her scalp. before the other girls save her. But nobody has time to fixate on her bleeding scalp because Lucy did manage to snag the phone. However, when they try to make a call, it turns out the screen is not working from getting smashed on the pavement. Still, the girls end up calling the last person they had called and end up giving them their address. Too bad these two boys that they had met on the plane had no clue what they were walking into. In the next scene, the four girls realize that Ben has now ventured into the house, and so Lucy decides to sneak into her room and get her phone to call for help. Katie also does indeed go wrong. Even though Lucy finds her phone, she ends up stepping on the TV remote, which of course switches it on and alerts the rabid chimp. As Lucy and Katie hide in the closet, Ben comes in search of them, absolutely destroys the TV, and then seems to go into the other room. Seeing another opportunity, Lucy walks out of the closet and grabs her phone, only to hear the words "Lucy, die" being played by Ben on his iPad. Moments later, the chimp jumps on his owner and starts attacking her, but once again, Katie comes to her rescue by beating Ben on the head. Then they make a run for the pool, but when Lucy reaches the edge of it, she hears a scream, only to realize that Ben has gotten to Katie. By the time she runs back to the staircase, Lucy finds Katie to be dead, as Ben keeps hitting her in the head with a rock. With no other way to save her friend, Lucy jumps back into the pool and sobs at the loss of her best friend. Meanwhile, we see Adam get a text at the book signing from the lab alerting him that the mongoose had tested positive for rabies, but he was insistent on the fact that Hawaii didn't have rabies at all. During this time, the two boys, Drew and Phil, walk into the house to look for the wild girls they met on the plane. As Phil decides to look downstairs, Drew goes upstairs to Lucy's room and finds it weird to see a childhood photo of her with a chimpanzee. Of course, the true horror for him comes when Ben appears in the red light of the room, pretty much sits on Drew and then puts his fingers inside his mouth, only to pull his jaw apart like a Lego piece. Drew did try his best to pacify Ben by calling him a good boy, but too bad it didn't work. What's even more gruesome is to see Ben eat the jawbone clean and leave it on the floor before going for the next hunt. Phil, on the other hand, finds Aaron, Hannah, and Lucy exhaustingly grabbing the float inside the pool. As he screams for them, they wake up and ask him to shut up before he alerts the rabid chimp. Sadly, it was too late, as Ben was right behind him, and before we know it, the chimp lunges at Phil. This gives Hannah the window to leap out of the pool and call for help as Lucy waits with Aaron. As Ben goes rabid on Phil, Hannah sneaks into the house to look for a means to get themselves out, and luckily she finds car keys. Without giving it much thought, she grabs the car keys and runs outside, without caring enough to go find Lucy or Aaron. She runs inside and goes to the car, only to realize that she was in the wrong car, because the keys she grabbed didn't work here. Of course, her next move is extremely dumb, as she uses the keys to find which car it was from, thus making the loud noise to alert the chimp. Just as Hannah walks out of the car to get to the other one, Ben starts approaching her. Seeing that, she immediately calls 911 and asks them to send the police, only to realize she didn't know the address of the place she was at. As Hannah looks at the bloody face of Ben, the chimp looks over her with an evil smile and dangles the keys to the car that she was in from behind, thus gutting her alive and stomping her to death inside the car. On the other hand, Lucy chooses to get out of the pool and find a way to escape after not hearing back from Hannah. As she walks into the house, Lucy steps on a broken shard of glass and lets out a noisy squeal, which of course alerts rabid Ben once again. During this time, Adam makes his way back home, sensing something was off, after his daughters don't pick up his calls for a long time. Well, it really doesn't help that he's deaf, because Adam doesn't hear Benji coming, and also fails to notice when Lucy draws the chimp towards her, moments before he was about to attack her dad. It was truly ironic to see Adam enjoy a slice of pizza while his daughter was getting beaten by his chimp in the other room. It wasn't until Adam goes into Lucy's room and finds Drew's body that he realizes what was really going on. Meanwhile, for a moment, we're led to believe that Ben realized what he was doing to Lucy, and reached out for her hand, only to break it. The only way Lucy saves herself was by hurting Ben at the same place he was bitten. She then scoots under the bed, only to realize Aaron has come to her rescue. Too bad little Aaron is no match for Ben, who almost kills her by scratching her back, until Lucy pushes him over. Lucy was inches away from losing her life when her father comes to her rescue with a blaring whistle that disrupts Ben from tearing off Lucy's jaw. But even if it distracts Ben, when Ben attacks Adam, Lucy retaliates by using a shovel to the chimp's face. Of course it doesn't make a difference as the shovel breaks, but good for her. Adam punches Ben in the face and then shoves a broken bottle of wine into his body. With the rabid animal seemingly dead, the family hug each other out, only for Lucy to see that Ben was charging at them again. So in her last bid to save her family, she lets Ben push her through the patio. Luckily, her father saves her from falling, while Ben falls on top of a wooden stake, impaling his body. Primate ends as the police finally arrive to clean up the mess and help Aaron out with medical care. Even if there's no post-credit scene to this film that brings a twist at the end, Primate does have a Freddy Krueger-like campiness to its horror, which makes it a fun one-time watch. But that's just my 2 cents. What's yours? Let us know in the comment box down below.